And we're so happy to have all of you join us today. Our Knowledge is Power Hour is a forum for individuals seeking natural approaches for health issues, as well as optimizing their general health and well-being. And our discussions are centered on holistic alternatives to a variety of health concerns, sharing knowledge as we all grow together, and using our talents and gifts to make a difference in the wellness of this world. We feel that together we're creating a movement that will impact many lives. And a little bit about me, I've been helping people restore and optimize their health for over 30 years. My degrees are in nutrition and dietetics and exercise physiology and cardiac rehabilitation. And I've had the privilege of working with some of the top medical minds in the world who believe, as I believe, that the body has the ability to heal itself when given the proper nutrients and tools. And so now I would like to introduce my friend and health and business partner, Adrienne Gerard.
Thanks, Deb. Hi, everyone. My name is Adrienne Gerard, and I'm in Milford, Connecticut. I've been a registered nurse for over 35 years, and my passion is helping people find their optimal health using natural and holistic solutions. As a health coach with a master's in holistic nutrition, I incorporate this philosophy in everything I do. And it's my pleasure to be here today with so many like-minded people, and I'd like to introduce you to my good friend and business partner, Liz Geeslin.
Great. Thank you, Adrienne and Deb. That's wonderful. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Liz and I'm coming to you from Westfield, Indiana. And I'm a personal chef and a holistic wellness advocate. I was a professional horse trainer for 35 years prior to that. And it is really my passion to inspire women and men to embrace life's changes with solutions for an ageless approach toward a vibrant future. So it is my pleasure to introduce you to today, our guest speaker, Dan Tatton. Dan and I met on LinkedIn, immediately connected, and I knew right away that I wanted him to be a speaker on Knowledge is Power. He's got a very, just a super great message today, and I'm looking forward to hearing him speak. So Dan, welcome.
Thank you so much, Liz, and thank you to everyone for coming today. I'm always really honored to get asked to speak to groups like this, and today I'm going to be giving a presentation that will hopefully help shift your mindset on exercise. And oh, and sorry, Liz, I forgot to say where I'm coming from.
That's right.
So today I'm coming from beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. So I'm pretty excited to see some fellow Canadians on the call. It's been a while since I've been chatting with Canadians, as a lot of us are holed up in COVID lockdown right now. But so I'm excited to see some of you on the call here. And yeah, so I'll be giving a presentation today. It's actually a sort of me blending two separate presentations I've done in the past. So I hope you enjoy. I'm going to share my screen with some slides so it can help guide me through this presentation. And at the end, I think, Liz, you mentioned we'll have some time for some Q&A, and that's where all the real magic and the fun happens. So as we're going through the presentations, as questions come up, just write them down and let's tackle them right at the end. So I'm just going to share screen here real quick and dive right in. All right. All right. So can everybody hear me okay? Some thumbs up. Great. That's a good sign. So today we're going to be talking about how fitness does not equal health. And I always start out this presentation because once in a while I run into the odd fitness advocate. This presentation is not intended to razz the fitness professionals. It's designed to start talking about how we can transform the fitness industry to better represent long-term health and move away from sort of short-term quick fix, all the stuff that we don't like in the industry. So that's just a little disclaimer I put at the top of that so we don't dive down that rabbit hole too far. So today, I'm just going to move myself out of the way here. We're going to talk about sort of what started my own journey towards changing my mindset towards health and fitness. We're going to talk about the really big problem of fitness really failing us as it relates to long-term health. We're going to talk about the way forward, which is what I like to talk about. We're going to talk about my company, 7 Movements, and what we're trying to do to contribute to that way forward. And we'll talk about some opportunities as well moving forward. So a little bit about me. I've been a health and exercise coach for about 16 years. My degrees are in physical education with a specialization in exercise physiology and strength and conditioning. And then I've got several other certifications over the years in the personal training world, and then more moving towards health and exercise coaching as I matured along my career path along the way. Currently, I spend most of my time operating my own startup called 7 Movements, as well as helping online entrepreneurs, mostly in the health space, build their own businesses. So that's really where my journey starts. And I think it would be relevant right now to sort of dive into 7 Movements, how I came about it, and how the company sort of got started. So I'm going to talk about how a spark of an idea really became 7 Movements. So way back in the day, a young Dan growing up in a small town called Saltcoats, Saskatchewan, Canada. So I grew up on a farm with my grandma, or my baba. I'm a Ukrainian boy, so we call our grandma Baba. And she lived on the same farmstead as me. And as I was making my way into the fitness industry, my grandma, I looked back at memories with her, and all of my favorite memories were spending time in the garden with my baba. And over the years, I had to watch her ability to move deteriorate before my eyes. And in conjunction with that, her mental state deteriorate at the same time as her body started to deteriorate. So think of a really strong woman who was out on a farmstead, worked super hard her whole life, and then her body started to fail her. And this is when I really started to think about exercise a little bit differently, because at the time I was working with my clients in the gym, and they were all hoping to lose 10 pounds or show their 6-pack abs or whatever the heck the thing they really wanted to do. And which was fine. I was happy to do it as a personal trainer. But I started to really think about what's the long-term impact we can have in the exercise community on people's long-term health. And what if I would have had the skills and ability to give my Baba some tools so she wouldn't have lost her ability to move so quickly and so early in life? And that was really the seed that was planted in my mind of, could we come up with something here that would be a softer approach to exercise, that would focus on longevity versus, the quick fix fixation that we have in the fitness industry. So these were kind of the 3 core principles we started to think about with my co-founder, John Sinclair, as it related to 7 Movements. And that was, we wanted to connect movement to the things we love rather than making it a chore. And this was a big one. And again, inspired by my own grandmother. If I could have connected movement to her time spent in the garden, she probably would have spent a little bit more time listening to what I had to say about exercise. And my big message to every single one of you who are trying to build an exercise program into your life, start thinking about things you love that involve movement, because that is going to be the starting point of you successfully implementing a long-term exercise habit into your life. So let's move away from making exercise a chore and make it more about the things that we love doing. We wanted to figure out a way we could use structured movement to prevent pain and break up long bouts of stagnation. So we're going to dive into stagnation, but really this means not moving at all, right? So how do we go from not moving at all to moving a little bit? And we're going to look at some of the problems that exist in the exercise industry today that are causing injury and causing people to not be able to build a movement habit for life. And then the last comment here is we wanted to create an invitation into movement or exercise for the 80%. And I'm going to dive into who the 80% are here very shortly. So really the underlying question to John and myself, and when I refer to John, that's my co-founder in 7 Movements and amazing exercise practitioner. But the big question we wanted to know at the time, and less relevant now in COVID times because the industry isn't growing, but to this point, why was a fitness industry growing so rapidly? Yet when we looked at population health indicators, they were all negative. So we had diabetes, obesity. I'm sure everyone, you know, the numbers that are on the rise. Yet I was looking around the big city here, and you know, every 2 weeks there was a new studio, a new exercise fad opening up on the corner, and the industry seemed to be doing quite well. So this is where we got into fitness does not always equal health, and we have an epidemic of unhealthy fit people giving exercise advice in the world here today. So fitness is failing us. 80%, so 4 in 5 of us across North America are not hitting recommended exercise targets, the minimum recommended exercise targets required for long-term health. And that's about 150 minutes of moderate to intense exercise every week. Participation, which is a nonprofit here in Canada, recently came out with a report card on children, and they were now sitting at 4 out of 5, not hitting recommended exercise targets required for long-term health. That should be an easy thing for a kid to hit, and we're not doing it. So something's going wrong in the industry. About the average North Americans is spending about 10 hours sitting per day. So in my business, we always say stagnation is the enemy of biology. The longer we spend sitting down and not moving is having negative impacts on our long-term health. And we probably would have seen, I think it was probably 2015, 2016, the headline of the day was "Sitting is the new smoking." I wonder if any of you had seen that headline. And really what that was referring to was a very interesting study that was basically showcasing that long-term bouts of sedentary behavior or not moving were having a similar detrimental effect as having someone who is smoking, which is alarming to say the least. And the little nugget that existed within that study, which was even more alarming, said something like this. And I'm paraphrasing because I don't have it right in front of me, but it essentially was telling us that regardless of your activity level, so this means regardless if you were moving, if you're going to the gym before and after work, if you were spending prolonged periods of time sitting, the effect on your long-term health outcomes were the same as someone who was not moving at all. So that is pretty powerful stuff, in that we need to start thinking about not just moving more, but moving more often. And again, this was another seed that got planted as far as what we want to do in our mission at 7 Movements. So I throw this slide in here for just a little bit of education. And I want to talk to you a little bit about the movement spectrum. So in order to achieve long-term health, we want to spend time in sort of every section of this spectrum. And it goes from, as you can see on the far left, sitting in stagnation, not moving at all. We might call this, in a more positive sense, recovery or resting, which is good. We want to spend time in resting state, along to, let's call it simple to moderate activity, all the way forward to high intensity, steady state training. And this is where there's a real gap in the fitness industry, in that I'm sure everyone here has heard of high intensity interval training. And this is, it's kind of the sexy thing in fitness today. And it's high intensity interval training has many, many health benefits associated with it. The problem is that most high intensity interval training programs are actually high intensity steady state programs. And now what I mean by that is that they get your heart rate to a very high level and we keep it there. Whereas a high intensity interval training, you want to have your heart rate go high and then you want to rest and bring it back down low. And then you want it to go high and then you want it to go low. So the interval piece is actually related to heart rate, not necessarily the time intervals, which most exercise programs today are built around. So we want to spend time for long-term health along this whole spectrum. And where 7 movements saw some real gaps is kind of in the middle. There was either people doing way too much sitting, let's call it resting to call it a nicer term, or way too much time in high intensity steady state training. And we needed to provide a way for people to move along the movement spectrum in between sort of randomly throughout the day. So that's where 7 movements focuses a lot of its exercise programming. Is on the left-hand side there, you'll see it's not sitting in stagnation, but it's sort of that next level where we're just introducing movement. We're inviting you into a little bit of exercise, all the way up to a little bit more high intensity exercise, but a true interval in which we're spending time at rest to bring our heart rates back down before we elevate it again. So this is just a little piece of information when you start seeing exercise programs talking about high intensity interval training. We want to dive into them a little bit and understand if that is exactly what they're actually talking about, or are we talking about high intensity steady state training, which if you spend a prolonged period of time on either end of this spectrum, so we talked about the sitting one, if you spend a long time not moving at all, there's serious negative health consequences. And additionally, if you spend a lot of time on the far right-hand side of this spectrum in high intensity steady state, your body breaks down as well. And this is where we see injuries, exhaustion, fatigue, and probably for you healthcare practitioners listening, a lot of the people that come into your practice and that you're dealing with, because the industry tends to focus people towards the right side of the spectrum. And I would probably argue they tend to focus people over there a little earlier than they probably should be. Lastly, if I have any Seinfeld fans out in the audience today, I like to talk about something we call the big salad syndrome. And nutritionists pick this up right away because I know they deal with clients that think they can sort of very quickly eat themselves back into health by just having a day or two of just perfect eating. So big salad syndrome is basically saying you can't get healthy by just eating a big bathtub full of salad one day. Just like with exercise, you can't get healthy by just loading up a day full of high intensity exercise. Both will maybe have some very short-term positive health consequences, but they will not get you healthy in the long term. And that's what we're talking about here today, is long-term health. So I want to talk a little bit about the way forward. And with 7 movements, we talk about microdosing movement. So whenever you hear me say microdosing movement from a 7 movements point of view, we're talking about a 7-minute bout of movement. And that 7-minute, wow, that's a mouthful, isn't it? 7-minute bout of movement can elicit any outcome we want. So it might be on that left hand of that movement spectrum, where it's more recovery mobility based. We're introducing you into movement and inviting you in. Or it might be a 7-minute bout of high intensity exercise that we're trying to fit into our day. So the concept of microdosing movement was really born to create an invitation into exercise for people who just want to get started people who need to get moving more often, whether they're exercising or not. Because remember what I said before, the sitting is the new smoking study stated very clearly that if you're in a prolonged sedentary state, regardless of how much you're exercising before and after that state, you're going to see some negative health consequences for it. So we need to move more often. So that invitation into exercise is really appealing for those of us who are just kind of kicking things off. For whatever reason, and I've tried to dive into the history of this and interviewed many old rugged personal trainer types to try and dive into why we made an exercise session 45 minutes to an hour. Because there's really not much science to support why we do that. And the best I could come up with is, well, in the gyms, we pay personal trainers by the hour. So I guess the exercise session should be an hour. And we need to shift our mindset and remember that all movement is created equal, and we can start moving more often in shorter little bouts so we don't have to consistently exhaust ourselves every day in an hour of high intensity exercise. Again, I'm going to go back and caveat everything with that stuff is good for you. It's a positive thing. If you're participating in group fitness classes and things that get your heart rate up and feeling good, that is a good thing. But we also need to move more often, and we also have to think about how we can incorporate more bouts of recovery into our exercise routines. Lastly, we can use this movement to prepare for the activities we love. Going back to my grandmother in the garden, if I could have given her at the time a 7-minute routine she could have done to prepare her body for the energy it was going to take for her to move in the garden, and it would have kept her gardening longer for life, I wish I could go back to that day. But that is what we've created at 7 Movements, and that's what we're really trying to do here. And really what we're trying to do is use movement to prevent pain and for longevity. So at 7 Movements, this microdosing concept, our long-term focus is not you losing 20 pounds in 20 days or getting your abs showing or getting a better booty. It is about longevity. It's about looking forward to how you want to feel when you're 70, 80, 90, 100 years old, and how you're moving then. So can we incorporate this small microdosing habit into our lives so we can enjoy life as we age? That is really what we're trying to do at 7 Movements. So I want to tell you a little bit about Daily Dose. This is a program that we built at 7 Movements, and we call it an exercise vitamin. So just like you might take a multivitamin to cover your baseline nutritional needs, Daily Dose is there to give you a program that covers your baseline exercise needs. So it's something you do every day that's going to, in the aggregate, contribute to your long-term health. And our Daily Dose program is actually really easy, really fun. Our participants sign up, and every day they get 4 7-minute microdoses delivered to them that they are to complete however they want throughout the day. A lot of our participants break that up randomly throughout the day. So they do 7 in the morning, 7 at lunch, and 14 at night. And then we have some other participants that actually lump them all together, and they actually do just 28 minutes of activity over lunch or something like that. But the point is, if they complete these 4 microdoses every day, they're hitting all of their recommended daily exercise targets. And in the long term, they're going to see reduced risk of all of the lifestyle disease factors that come into play when we do not hit those exercise targets. So one opportunity that I wanted to bring up today, and I'm going to stop sharing because I don't think we need to go, you don't need to see my fancy slide. You can see my face instead. So I know we have a couple of healthcare practitioners or health practitioners with us here today. So one thing that we are doing at 7 Movements is actually partnering with anyone who works one-on-one with clients in a health capacity, and work with them to integrate our daily dose program as a foundational activity program for their clients. What we were finding, particularly in the nutrition space, is nutritionists or dietitians or even health coaches with a nutritional bent all knew that their clients needed to be exercising more, and they would tell them, you need to be more active. But they were sort of hard pressed to push them into an individual program. And that was for very good reason, because most of these programs, as I was talking about, maybe not for everybody. They might be super high intense. You're not sure if this person's ready for diving into the, a group fitness class. So Daily Dose provides a program that is an invitation into movement for the folks that you're likely working with. We don't want to throw people into high intensity exercise who are not ready for it, because it is going to do damage to them. And then I'm going to have to work with their injuries afterwards. And this is probably 90% of my client base from an exercise coach point of view, is I'm working with people who are injured coming out of a CrossFit gym, an Orange Theory studio, or one of the other kind of major high intensity providers, which again, great programs if your body's ready for it. And we want to get people's bodies ready to be able to perform in those programs, but we need to be super smart about this and do a better job of transitioning people from not moving at all through that movement spectrum over to being able to participate in a little bit more high intense activity. And if I got my wish, unless you really love the Orange Theory CrossFit community and everything it brings to you, that you'll find an activity that brings that heart rate up that you actually love doing. So one of my favorite stories to tell as a personal trainer, or one of my favorite clients I've ever had, I should say, was a lovely lady that I worked with who was probably about 120 pounds overweight. And she came to me like most clients do, and she wanted to lose the weight, right? And she wanted me to come to her home and train her 3 times a week. So we did that for a while, and it was a pretty common story where she had trouble sticking to the program if I was not there with her. And of course, she didn't like it. Even me showing up, she was dreading me showing up to do the exercise. So we had already framed in her mind that exercise was a negative thing, that she doesn't want to participate. She's doing it though, so she can lose the weight. So anyways, we didn't get very far. We lost 10 pounds, maybe over a couple of months. And I said, you know what? We are going to stop with the in-home training. You're going to join the sport and social club in your city, and you're just going to go participate in a few different activities, whatever you want. Just pick one or pick 10 and try them. So she ended up actually doing this, and she ended up falling in love with a sport called dragon boat racing. I don't know if you're familiar with this. This is like a 12-person team, and they all get a little paddle and they go ripping across the river. But she fell in love with it. So 3 months later, she was down to say another 20 pounds because she was participating in this activity. And she said, Dan, can you build me a program that will, not make me hurt so much after I go on my dragon boat racing? Because she wanted to do it. Like, she was excited about it. I said, yeah, absolutely. We put her in this program. A year later, 100 pounds later, she was dragon boat racing like a champion. And she felt great, and she loved exercise. So she did my program that was maybe 20 minutes a day, just to keep her. But then she dragon boated like 2 to 3 hours a day sometimes, because she just loved it so much. So this is my message to anyone who wants to bring more exercise into their day. Move away from the gym mindset right away. It can help you. That's good. But start thinking about things you love doing that involve activity. And it doesn't need to be intense activity, just activity. So like I say, my grandma, this would have been gardening. She would have said, Dan, you make me feel better in the garden, I'll do what you tell me to do. And it would have been wonderful. I was just a little bit late in understanding this for her. So that is really my long-term message to all of you, is find something that you love doing and build an exercise program around it. And let exercise be the supplement to the activity you love rather than vice versa. And I think that will help you. It will probably help the clients that you're working with. And hopefully this can lead to a lifelong love of movement, which will lead to a longer, more fulfilled life. Because when we move, particularly as we get older, when we keep moving well, we're going to just enjoy life more. It's just how it works. And I know from clients that I have worked with in the past, and what I've seen in my personal life with my own grandmother when she lost her ability to move, and I saw her mental state deteriorate along with it. We need to start providing better programming to invite people into this space, so they don't just look at exercises. Well, I'm not going to wear stretchy pants and jump up and down and do a booty blast. Like, what the heck am I going to do that for? But we can get them started on a journey to more movement and help them fall in love with all of these activities we all love doing anyways. So that is my message to you. I thank you so much for allowing me to give this presentation. Hopefully this has helped inspire you to start thinking differently about exercise, because that's our goal at 7 Movements, period, is can you start thinking a little bit differently about this stuff? And can we arm you a little bit as you go into this exercise and fitness space to be really confident in being like, that is for me and that is not for me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Right? So I will open up the floor to questions or comments, and I love this part. So no question is off limits here. So let's just rock and roll.
Great. Actually, Andrea, go ahead, hon.
No, I was going to say, I put my hand up to ask a question, but you say what you want to say first.
No, you go ahead.
Hi, Dan. I mean, that was fascinating, and it's filled in lots of gaps for me, and I love all your messaging as well. So I'll be nicking some of it for my ladies. I've got a weird scenario because I mainly help women in menopause, but I've got absolutely the opposite problem. And my biggest inquiry for women who have got, adrenal fatigue or not on the floor with their energy, and they are fitness instructors.
Yeah.
Because they've spent their life teaching HIIT classes, and dance classes, and everything else classes. And obviously mindset is a big thing to try and get them over. And sometimes it's, for some of them, it's too big a leap to say, can you replace a HIIT class with like a yoga or a qigong, because their mentality is so HIIT. So I just wondered if your program in a way can actually help them step down as well as step up.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, that's such an interesting problem, and it's so true. And I see that within my own industry with all us, group training instructors in particular.
Yeah.
Who all spend so much time on that right side of the spectrum.
Yeah.
So what our program can do for those people is introduce them to the concept of recovery and using movement for recovery and bringing energy into the body. So just exposing them to that can help, because they can start getting that same feeling they're getting from the high intensity stuff as they would by getting a little bit of recovery. And we're starting to get some more space with this, with the guy that comes to mind, and it's a good thing, is Tom Brady in the US, who spends twice as much time recovering than he does actually doing performance exercise, and he's doing okay for himself, especially from a physical side of things as an athlete. And that's who these people are. They're athletes. They've just been, like you say, on tilt for 15 to 20 years.
They don't do the recovery. Yeah.
Yeah.
I obviously don't want to get all your secrets, but do your any of your exercise programs go into some more of maybe the Eastern types of things like yoga and qigong? Or is it still staying in the Western area?
No, it dives into, actually, it's funny you bring that up, because we definitely incorporate principles and even movement strategies from those other practices. We just don't call them that. It's just like we try not to label very much of what we do, and we just call it movement.
No, that's nice. No, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that would be actually our free community at Seven Movements also has a recovery center module to it that's free. And what it is just full of 7-minute doses of recovery. And we've got stuff without equipment. And then we partnered with an organization called HyperIce, who build vibration massage tools to help speed up recovery for some people in there as well. So sometimes those folks that you're talking about will really respond to kind of the neat tools, like a really nice massage gun. They'll use that for recovery because they still feel like it's performance, right?
Yeah. Great question, Andrea. Yeah,
Thank you.
that was great. So Dan, I'm sorry, Adrian, did you raise your hand? Okay. Dan, could you give us just a little bite size, of course, because I am in the program. Could you explain like what a 7-minute of one of the earlier ones for our guests that are here, what that might look like as far as from the different movements, what something like that looks like?
Sure. So all of our 7 movement strategies, all of our microdoses follow a similar format. And in that they focus first on fluid dynamics. So what we do is try and bring hydration and blood flow to the soft tissues. So that's all the things that tend to make you feel stiff and achy and all that kind of stuff. So we, as you've probably seen, Liz, on our videos, we use a rub and scrub technique.
Yes.
So we'll just rub around the bones where all the soft tissues connect. And really the intention there isn't to do anything crazy other than to bring some heat to that area, bring some water into the soft tissues, and then we have them primed to start moving. So I like to give the Play-Doh analogy when I talk to clients about this. So if you leave your Play-Doh out on your desk for the day or 10 hours because you spent it sitting and it hasn't moved, it's just been kind of sitting there, there's no hydration going through it, and then you pick it up and you put it through a quick movement, right? Snap, Play-Doh breaks,
right?
Or it's really stiff and hard to bend, right? But let's take that same Play-Doh now. It's been, drying out a little bit, but now we take some water, we rub some water in there, we start making it a little bit more malleable, and now we go to move. Now those soft tissues are all ready to move, right? So that's what we're doing almost every time at the beginning of our 7-minute microdose. We're prepping the body for movement. Then we move into sort of a mobility section in minute 2 through kind of 3 or 4. And this is what we would call in the corrective exercise industry as sort of movement prep.
Mm-hmm.
So we're starting to expand our movement bubble. We're seeing how far we can go with certain movements. And then we sort of end by actually doing some integration. So now we're trying to create rhythm in our movement and expanding out our movement bubble even a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to put me side by side with somebody else, you'd see us do the same 7-minute microdose, but mine might look a lot different than the person next to me, depending on what our movement bubble is, right? Or maybe I'm suffering from some sort of injury. So I can still move.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I can't move yet, right? So that's the progressive part of what we're trying to do within our microdoses themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I should say, one slide that I missed because I jumped off of the presentation. I do this because it's how my brain works. If I miss a slide, it's like it just shuts out of my brain. But one thing we are doing with 7 movements on our roadmap right now, everyone sort of follows the same progression. So they get into the program and we progress them through, right? What we're working on is actually integrating some artificial intelligence and biometric data collection. So we can take your biometric data daily and send you a customized daily dose based on what you need that day. So we build it based on your heart rate variability and some of your other movement patterns of what you're actually ready for on any given day. Your sleep can give us some data on that front. Your heart rate variability, your blood pressure, your breath rate.
Mm-hmm.
We can take that, run it through our algorithm, and spit you out a daily dose that's very, very specific to your needs. So going back to the folks who maybe are high intensity exercisers that we were talking about before, experiencing adrenal fatigue and all that kind of stuff, their biometric data is going to support that adrenal fatigue diagnosis. And they're going to get a daily dose of recovery over and over again until their data changes and now they start to move towards that. So that's in development right now. That's where we're moving towards, is a really smart dose of exercise. So it'd be almost like adjusting the vitamin, right? So it's maybe not the same vitamin you're getting every day. It's a little bit more of this, a little bit more of that, based on what your daily needs are.
Right. Great. Yeah. Thank you, Dan. Thank you. Yes, Lynn.
I'd like to know, is it something that you offer as a trial basis for the program?
Yes. So we have a whole free community is full of all kinds of different morning program in there. We've got 7-minute meditations in there, and it gives you sort of an introduction. And then if people really enjoy the concept, that's when they jump onto Daily Dose, and then it's a subscription-based product, and they sign up and pay for it at that point.
Right. And Lynn, I can get you all that information when, I'll be providing all of that for all of you too, if you want to explore that. Like he said, he has a free community, and I've got all that stuff I can send you.
Okay. Because the things you mentioned a little bit about tracking our information, like you probably have a Fitbit watch too, Liz, right?
Of course.
Yeah. So I like to see what my 150 minutes, like I like to be able to get it on by Wednesday. As long as I get it, that's fine. But I'm actually finding it easier during the pandemic to get my exercise in. I do it pretty much daily.
Good.
So I feel better by doing it because I'm recovering. I had burnt out and I'm coming back from it. And I was like maybe 2.5 months away from work. And when I started feeling better, I started working out again, and just mostly walking workouts, but some strength training and some balance work, body weight work. So I find it's important, and I use content like Rick Buller, Brand Fitness, Leslie Sansone, Spelt. So there's lots of resources on YouTube, and I'm using those, and it's helping me. I feel better.
Yeah, good for you, Lynn. That's awesome. Yeah, that's great. Good. Well, anybody else have any questions for Dan? Dan, this was really, really great. I mean, I just think that what you're doing, I think what I loved is when you and I first met is when you just said that 80% of the population is, the 20% that is always going to go to the gym and always work out and be there. They don't need all the inspiration they're going to do it anyway. But the 80% that have sort of fallen through the cracks, that to make it, and I think focusing, like you said, on thinking about being able to do things you enjoy, that makes it easier to think about taking care of your body and looking at it that I'm doing this so I can carry a suitcase, or so I can walk with my grandkids, or, and staying vibrant. I mean, because I think that would be one of the most frustrating things, to be still so sharp of mind and then really physically not being able to enjoy what life offers us. And, there's just no two ways about it. We got to take care of the vehicle, right?
No, yeah, you nailed it, Liz. And that's, it's something I have daily conversations with folks in the fitness industry about, in that we need to do a better job of programming for that 80%, because right now 99% of our programming is for the 20% of people who move, which makes, from a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. We're catering to the market that exists, that's proven, that we're trying to lure them over because our products, sexier, faster, stronger, all that kind of stuff.
Right.
But we have this 80% of people over here who need our help the most. If we want to be serious about health in the fitness space, we need to program for them too, and create more invitational type movement programs that bridge it for them. So we're not just not throwing them into the fire, right? Because we've done that so many times, and we see it fail. I always compare it to when your doctor gives you a prescription, and you go pick up your pills from the pharmacy, you don't just slam them back all in day one. Pace it out, because you do that, you're in big trouble. And we're doing that with exercise. And like I say, that's a lot of clients I see from a coaching perspective is they got thrown in and now they're hurt. And guess what? Now they align injury and pain with exercise. And this is not a good place for them to be, because we want them to align exercise with feeling good and loving it.
Right. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. Yes, Deb. Oh, and then, okay. Okay, good. Okay, go ahead.
Let Deb go.
Oh, I want to ask you, Dan, real quick. So based on your program that you, the exercise that you tailor to the individuals, if an individual finds something that they really enjoy doing, let's say it's tennis or whatever it is, like you were saying, the rowing, then do you teach them exercises that are sport specific? So basically ones that are going to help them develop the muscles they need to get better at that sport. And then also the mobility exercises that are going to improve in their flexibility and reducing their injury rate. Is that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And the answer is sort of yes and no. There's a lot of movements that are applicable to sort of across the athletic spectrum. So whenever I talk to someone about getting better for a specific sport, I want to talk to them about becoming a better athlete. And that means becoming an overall better athlete. Now, with some specific sports, what we really try and teach is how do we prevent and account for some of the repetitive use strains that are a result of playing a specific sport. So my paddling lady or tennis player or whatever, where they're doing over and over and over again. So to do that, we need to introduce variability. We need more of different things, more different movements. And that's what we're trying to do at 7 Movements is, over a course of a day, you'll have 4 microdoses that you do. You'll have 28 unique movements you're actually going to work through that. So that's an incredible amount of variability, which should translate to you becoming a better athlete. And then if we want to move into performance, I would say, yeah, I'd want to work more one-on-one with you from a performance coach level versus that 7 Movements baseline level. Because again, I take them back to be like, let's make you a great athlete. And then you'll become a great tennis player. And then if you want to become the best tennis player because you want to step into performance, let's connect you with the right coach who will do everything that you were talking about, Deb, as far as, making them stronger in the right areas and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay, Dan, thank you.
Yeah, good question. Okay, I think Teresa and Andrea had a question. No, Andrea, go ahead.
Yeah. So coming back to all my ladies again. And actually, I did see something the other week about how there aren't exercise programs on age specific. Most of them are young, and my women tend to go on to free challenges on Facebook with 20 somethings when they're, in their 50s. So I was thinking, how do I gear them or change their mindset from going for these free challenges with a young person towards 7 Movements, and where is your free community that I can point them to? Okay.
Yeah. The free community is just at 7movements.com, right on our homepage, and they can just join in there. The mindset question is a coaching question, right? Which always gets really interesting because it's going to be a unique, it's going to be sort of a unique reason for each of those individual ladies. Why are they feeling the need to try and participate or compete with?
There's normally an incentive, like something like a wedding or a holiday coming up, but also I think there isn't any age appropriate person out there because they've all got adrenal fatigue. That's what I've been trying to find. I found one for yoga, but trying to find somebody in the fitness arena who is right for menopausal women. So all Facebook and Instagram are just flooded with younger fitness instructors saying shed your pounds, and of course they're doing it because they want to get into a dress of some sort. That's the major incentive with the women I see.
Right. I think, Lynn, did you have something, Lynn, you wanted to pipe in? Did it look like you wanted to say something with Dan?
Yes, absolutely. for a program on YouTube, there is something more age specific for more geared towards older women. Fabulous 50s. The trainer is really great. She's very down to earth. I'm not 50, but I'm 49, but I love the programs because I like doing low impact workouts because I have some problems with my back. So for me, it's low impact. I have to do that. But I really enjoy and relate to the program. It's the different workouts that she has, and it's walking workout, strength training, and balance work. Very good.
Good. Thank you.
Great.
Brand
And-
fitness as well is another one that's more geared towards over 50. Low impact.
And great. Yeah, those are great resources. And Andrea, to address, I have to say this because I have to address the mindset piece. If you can get them off of social media, do it. Do it. And that's not older women yet. That's everybody. Especially if it's impacting you in that way. If you're going to Instagram and Facebook for your health advice, you're in big trouble right off the bat. And you're gonna have some serious psychological troubles in dealing with what's coming at you constantly, because you're gonna get blasted with it. And from my perspective, when I go on there as a coach, like it affects me, and I know what's going on. So think about your people who are extremely in an extremely vulnerable state already, and now they're being told by someone like, oh, well, if you just be like me, you might look like me and feel like me, and then you can live the fake life that I'm showing you as well. It'd be amazing.
The fake life.
So move them if you can. As a coach, encourage them to get off. And if they need to do it for their business, say, yeah, post, don't consume.
Yeah.
Just share. Don't
Yeah.
consume.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Dan.
Great. Well, wonderful. Well, you guys, we've got just, we want to wrap up on the top of the hour. So if anyone doesn't have any more questions, everybody good? It was great to see everybody. And Dan, this was just fabulous. Of course, I just love your program and love also being an advocate for you. And it's something that I think is so valuable for people, and really, really such an amazing, great concept.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you everyone for letting me talk your ears off for an hour.
Well, and also everybody, today is Dan's birthday, so a little happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Always feel free to reach out to me personally if you have questions. If you just want to jam on ideas around your clients or anything like that, we're here to help, and we're here to really shift the focus on this exercise fitness space. So the more minds, the better, always. So
Yeah.
Very happy to have you reach out to me personally. And Liz, I don't know how you do that with sharing information.
Yes, I'll go ahead and make sure everybody's got the information. And this has just been fabulous, Dan. Just appreciate it. And know that everybody, the recording will also be uploaded to my YouTube channel, Liz Geeslin, Better Lifestyle Solutions. It's a public playlist, and it'll be in the Knowledge is Power playlist. But you can obviously look at just Dan's individually or any of the other ones that we've had. And we've had some great speakers. And everybody, thank you for joining us on our final regular scheduled Knowledge is Powers. We, of course, will still pop in and have more in the future, and appreciate you all so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Good night.
Bye, Dan.